Hello and welcome to Acapella Adventures, making tiny bites of actual solo play using this half to test the ideas of the Meroch universe in the Ormegarten Module, a fantasy setting built with the 3D10 system, episode 067. Our characters are Igor Steinmann, a Russo-German female Dwarven character, Wolfsbane, a human spirit mystic, and tech guy, 30 Experimentalist, Wyesley, who's an assassin smuggler who's a bit chaotic. Our adventurers in the area around the keep ally themselves with Fox the Halfling Ranger, a Dagger, the Axe Woodsman, Wynding the Thane, and a local healer, Alice the Medusa. Gertrude becomes a contact for the adventurers, acting on behalf of the keep, which wants info and eventually keeping out all 5 cults if possible. Azurian the Moon Merchants wants peace with the Lizardmen, the Millwell, and Ormegarten, so they will help them get close enough to weaken their position. Zilundre and Alice the Medusa have approached them both as they pass around the town with 2 offers. Zilundre wants to harvest some chemically interesting bee honey, while Alice the Medusa wants them to stone some insects. So she's basically going to use her abilities to create tiny stone statues with her ability to stone things, her stoning days, which is an interesting thing. I think I picked that up from Brian Rogers, who was kind of one of the things where I got the idea from. Should probably mention him in that thing. She wanted to sell. This merges with their plans. We have other possible random encounters to go. And so it should be interesting what we're going to do. I'm going to find my dice. Solve that. Okay. They managed to run across the woodsman, who gives a friendly greeting to the group, and especially Alice the Medusa. One of the things is that if you read the first edition of the book, priests eventually get their own fighting force, much like fighters do. And this character was the planted seed to eventually have him be her, well, the character, I don't remember her name off that. I've got it somewhere. But anyways, one of my players, I rolled randomly what sort of co-adventure she would get, and boom, she was supposed to get a small force led by a guy wielding an axe. So I decided, so I introduced his Axe Woodsman as a potential future follower for her, rather than interest or like romance or anything like that. She might have interpreted it the other way, but the intent was loyal follower who's been with the group for a while, been around, and then he just shows up with a bunch of his cousins and their friends, and here you've done great things for our group and community. Our way of thinking is pledging our lives to your service. So that's what that plot was. That fell apart. We should have got high enough level to get the NPCs as allies. So he's kicking around, and sidebar, Alice rolled up the same thing. Congratulations, Alice. Because she's going to become a priestess, and she's eventually going to have allies and things like that. So he's there for the same reason. But might as well have an NPC guy wander around who, does the whole, wandering woodsman in charge of the force sort of role filling until he gets picked up as an adventurer psychic. All right. they are going to head off, and the woodsman won't join them, but he will, be friendly. Hey, how's it going? Then they head off, and Zillandre leads them outside the bounds of the village. This is technically north, southeast. This is to the west of where most adventurers go, so it's sort of past, like, I've always viewed the Lizardman as on the left-hand side, and that's where the mill and the mill wheel's going, fortified, armored mill. And then this kind of goes out past that, but they're taking a loop up and around, and that's it for the moment. So they finally head up to the place, and it's this large tree that has a big empty hole in it, and you can see the bees occasionally coming in, going out, coming in, going out. Nice meadowy, floral field going, lots of climbing vines with honeysuckle, things like that. All sorts of flowering plants and creatures around. So, that's the situation. Everybody here, so because this is player-based skill originally, that means that the characters are going to be able to use their own abilities and knowledge in order to solve issues, which is another thing I brought up early in that campaign. It's like, depends on what you know. I'm not going to restrict you to pseudo-medieval fantasy conjecture level. This is a post-apocalyptic world. You might know a lot about bees and honey and raising bees and things like that. But I think one of the tricks is that the bees that generate this honey can't be cultivated. They're a domestication, as opposed to being domesticatable. Or they were domesticated once upon a time, they're not anymore. Oh, it would be interesting to have a chip that would enable you to talk to bees. That could be something. But we'll think of that later. So, we finally get to scanning out the area, large tree in the middle of a big floral clearing, lots of flowers all over the place, honeysuckle, great place for bees. And there's going to be challenges, of course. But we have our 3 PCs, Igor, Mac, and Wyesley, along with Alice and Fox, so it should be interesting. So, like and subscribe if you get a chance. Bye-bye.